I love a good parenting controversy. But when I decided it was time to start giving my kids money, I thought this might be the one parenting issue with one right answer. Surely there was a foolproof monetary system that would teach kids to be responsible and financially savvy. But this is parenting we're talking about. There's never one right answer. There are lots of right answers. This can be either empowering or overwhelming, depending how you look at it. This is the How She Moms podcast, where we talk about how different moms solve the same problems. I'm Whitney Archibald, a mother of 5 kids myself. I collect ideas so you can pick and choose what works for you and your family. Back in April, I aired 2 podcasts on the topic of kids and money. The first was How She Teaches Kids About Money, and the second was Bratophobia, about entitlement. In this episode, I'll talk about the Great Allowance debate, perhaps the most controversial issue regarding kids and money. There are 2 main sides to this debate: allowance versus commission. In the allowance model, kids are paid a set weekly or monthly rate, independent of chores or other qualifications. The second approach is a commission system, a work-for-pay system wherein kids are paid for doing chores and making other contributions to the family. And then, of course, there's a third option, not giving kids money at all. I'll be using 4 fabulous books as my main source material for this episode. The first is Smart Money, Smart Kids by Dave and Rachel Ramsey. The second is The Entitlement Trap by Linda and Richard Iyer. Third is The Opposite of Spoiled by Ron Lieber. And fourth is The Blessing of a B- by Wendy Mogul. Let's start with the allowance side. The first argument on this side is that kids should not get paid for cleaning up after themselves and for doing basic chores that contribute to the family. As Wendy Mogul says in her book, The Blessing of a B-, chores are best viewed as an essential aspect of family citizenship. So kids need to learn that the work we do in our homes has intrinsic rewards, like contributing to the well-being of your family and a sense of accomplishment. The second argument is that the point of giving kids money is to teach them about money, not as an incentive to help out around the house. Ron Lieber, author of The Opposite of Spoiled, says, allowance ought to stand on its own, not as a wage, but as a teaching tool that gets sharper and more potent over a decade or so of annual raises and increasing responsibility. The objective here is to teach kids how to use and manage their money so they'll become responsible adults. There won't be anyone handing out cash at the laundromat and telling them what a great job they did separating their whites and colors. And money isn't the only incentive we can use for chores. Lieber says there are plenty of other privileges we can withhold if kids aren't getting their chores done in a timely fashion. Driving that new car, for instance. Taking away money, which is a tool for learning, need not be one of them. My friend Lisa Holzer, who blogs at betterwayparenting.net, uses an allowance system as a tool to teach her 4 daughters about money. Here's Lisa.
I think it's important to pay kids allowance so that they have money to practice with, so that they can spend it, save it, waste it, and just understand how money works, make small mistakes with their money as they go along and get older, and like saving it up or delaying gratification, not getting one thing to get another thing, are kind of concepts you might not really understand until you practice it with your own money. So I think that's really useful for kids to be able to do, almost like you're just giving them some practice money, But if you tie it to chores, a few things happen. Like one is they can say, oh, I just don't want to do the job then. And then what are you going to do? You still got to get the work done.
Right.
So then you're in kind of a bad spot, and they can kind of manipulate it like that. I just think there's other ways to motivate the kid to do the work than money.
You can read all about how Lisa teaches her kids about money at howshemoms.com. I'll include a link in the show notes. Years ago, after talking to Lisa and other moms about this allowance-based system, I was sold. I thought, you're right, I shouldn't be paying my kids to clean up their own messes. I also wanted them to have their own money, partly so that when we go to the store and they want something, the decision is on them, not me. If they have money, they can buy it. If not, nope. I also loved the logistical freedom allowance gave me. I paid my kids their age and allowance once a month. I could automate this on our family banking app, Bankaroo, and it just appeared each month in their accounts. No scrounging for dollar bills. It was great. But then you have the commission side. Parents who make their kids earn their money. The main argument for the commission side is that in the real world, people get money for doing work. When we pay kids for doing chores, we're teaching them a basic principle of economics. In the book Smart Money, Smart Kids, Rachel Cruz, daughter of financial guru Dave Ramsey, says, "From age 5 on, I operated on one general rule about making money. Work, get paid. Don't work, don't get paid." Her dad puts it bluntly, handing out money and not teaching strong work habits creates people who whine, who feel entitled, and who become perpetual victims. We're not doing our kids any favors by teaching them that they can get something for nothing. Paying for work also teaches kids the principle of ownership. In the book The Entitlement Trap, Richard and Linda Eyre say, "When we work, we feel the ownership that causes us to value something, to take pride in it, to take care of it. True ownership is the antidote to entitlement and the prerequisite to responsibility." Dave Ramsey says that even the word allowance is problematic. He says, "It implies that a child is allowed a certain amount of money just for living and breathing. Sure, every parent likes to bless his or her child with surprises and gifts, but the allowance system, as a general rule, doesn't teach the child how real life works. Money should never be just a handout." In The Entitlement Trap, Richard Eyre talks about waking up on a Saturday morning, payday, by his kids knocking on his bedroom door. They were chanting, "Give me my money." He said, "It occurred to me in my sleepy state that the whole scene looked a little like a welfare office. These kids were lined up for the dole, and I had just opened the window." His kids were learning entitlement, not responsibility or ownership. The commission side agrees with the allowance side about the importance of teaching kids money skills when they're young. It just gives it a different spin. Again, from The Entitlement Trap. As a person earns, obtains, and takes care of something that belongs to him, he develops self-esteem, self-discipline, self-confidence, self-motivation, happiness, and good judgment. Another friend of mine, Sarah DeHolst, is a great example of a commission side success story. From about age 9 or 10, she pays her kids generously, $1 per chore, with about 8 chores per day. But then she expects them to pay for most of their basic expenses, including clothing, shoes, recreation, and other extras. As a result, they know how to save, spend, and give money in a real-world context. They make plenty of mistakes and learn from those mistakes at a young age. You can read about the details of her system at howshemoms.com. I'll link that as well. When I learned about Sarah's system and talked to some other moms who were using commission-based systems, I found myself being convinced away from the allowance side. I looked around my house and I realized that my kids were not doing their chores consistently, and yet the money was still rolling in. What's more, since they had money, they were begging me to go to the store so they could buy junk that would just mess my house up even more. So I did an about-face and switched to the commission side. So now, to confuse you and me even more, there's yet another school of thought. That the best way to teach kids about money is not to give it to them at all. The argument here is that paying kids to do chores is not the real world. In fact, paying kids at all is not the real world. In the real world, you get a real job if you want money. My friend Sarah Kelly is the perfect example of this principle in practice. Sarah's dad lost his job when she was 12, and they scraped by with minimal necessities. She started babysitting and doing odd jobs to pay for most of her own clothes, shoes, and any extras. She worked all through high school at ski resorts, grocery stores, and a catering company. She also volunteered to work at a dance studio so she could take lessons there. She later paid her way through college. That lesson was effective and free. But you don't have to lose your job to teach your kids this lesson. You just have to stop giving your kids money. Then, when they're old enough, they can get a real job. Until then, Amanda Hamilton Roos, founder of buildingthebridge.com, says, "Letting a child work alongside you as you create your family life is a better motivation than sending them off to wash windows for a quarter. For most of their lives, my kids are going to be bombarded by external motivations. Grades, trophies, honor rolls. I want them to first learn at home that we do things because we want to do our best, regardless of who is watching and rewarding." A few years ago, Amanda wrote an article for powerofmoms.com called 3 Reasons I Don't Pay My Kids an Allowance. Another of her reasons is that giving kids money teaches them more about consumerism than financial literacy. She says, "Because my kids are little, my husband and I provide for all their needs. This means the only things my 7-year-old spends his money on are wants. Unfortunately, these wants are mostly created from commercials and product placement. In short, junk. When he took his birthday money to the dollar store, he was determined to spend his money on anything. All he's learning is consumerism 101. The important thing is not what you buy, it's that you buy." As for learning how to earn money, Amanda says, "I have no problem with my kids working for someone else. I gladly pay our neighbors' kids to house sit our cats and would welcome an opportunity for my kids to do a similar job. Because that's what it is, a job. Our family life is not a job. It's a workshop for building the kinds of people who will do hard work and make wise decisions, independent of the money involved. The other beautiful advantage of not paying kids at all is logistics. There aren't any. So if you're like me, you're thoroughly confused by now and maybe even a little mad at me. Wasn't this allowance debate supposed to have a winner? All of the arguments are pretty convincing. So which system is the best? If you've listened to my podcast long enough, you'll know that the answer is almost always that there is no one right way. It's that classic answer, it depends. For our family, a straight commission-based system didn't work much better than the allowance side did. This time it failed because of logistics. I tried several different job charts and checklists, and I could sustain them for about a week before the kids and I all burned out on keeping track of their daily work. We kept trying on and off for about a year, but finally abandoned ship. Some moms are great at making either one of these systems work. If you're one of these moms, there may be one right system for you. Moms like my friend Lisa, who are more organized and better about managing household chores, do not have the same problem I did with the allowance-based system. It works great for them, especially if they also have a deliberate plan in place to teach kids how to manage the money that's coming in. Moms like Sarah DeHolst have the logistical stamina to find an accounting system that works and to stick with it. So the commission-based system works great for them. In addition to these moms, I have several more success stories from moms who are good at teaching kids about money in episode 4 of this podcast, How to Teach Kids About Money. What my family has settled on is a very relaxed commission-based system with some principles from the allowance-based system thrown in. I have a list of daily chores that I expect my kids to complete if they want screen time or to go play with friends. They have to practice the piano, clean their rooms, tidy their bathroom, do homework, and do their kitchen job. For extra jobs above and beyond this, I pay on the spot, adding the money right away to our allowance app. No charts. I pay for babysitting, vacuuming, gathering the trash, weeding, mowing, etc. Then every Saturday we have a family cleaning project that we all do together for no pay. Again, this is just what works for my family's personality. Like us, it'll probably take some trial and error for you to figure out what works for you. And different systems may work for different ages and stages in your family. The good news is that you're winning just by the fact that you're putting some thought into the issue of kids and money. Whatever system you land on, whether it's paying an allowance, paying by commission, or not paying anything at all, your kids will benefit from anything you can teach them about how to manage their money and about good old-fashioned hard work. Thank you for listening to the How She Moms podcast. I'd love to find out how you mom. There are 4 main ways to add your voice to this How She Moms community. First, you can email me at whitney@howshemoms.com, or you can go to my contribute page at howshemoms.com and find out what topics I'm currently researching. There will be questionnaires that you can fill out there. You can also follow me on Instagram to see daily tips about how different moms approach the current topic. Finally, you can sign up to receive email questionnaires for each new topic, so you can contribute your ideas. Special thanks to my mom for playing my theme music. She's been playing this song since I was a little girl, and to me, it's part of the soundtrack of motherhood.